Hi, church. So it is Tuesday, and I know I'm doing this a little early just because I'm not sure how everything's flowing in the afternoon, so I want to make sure I get it out there. We're doing our Bible study, and last week we started a new Bible study. We're doing the Song of Songs, or in some Bibles it's called the Song of Solomon, and that is in the Old Testament. It is part of the writings. So the writings are those pieces that aren't history or aren't prophets. They're things that are poetic, things that have flow. And so we'll notice as we walk through the Song of Songs, there is this notion of poetry to it. Song of Songs is sometimes seen as the little more racy part of the Bible, but as adults, I think it's important we understand that there's a depth to it. So if you don't know about Song of Songs, I invite you to check last week's Bible study first. I kind of break down the different pieces. And hey, Lisa and some others who are coming on early, that's great. So what I want you to know when hearing these, and it is have a reading to it, it has a flow to it, almost like a play. Song of Songs has kind of a three-part system to it. One, it could be written for the love of marriage, the love of partnership, right? From a man to a woman, it's written here. But this idea of just connection, right? Relationship connection and how we care about people, right? So there's that piece. Then there's a second piece. It could have been about Solomon and Sheba, and we'll really see that play out in the reading today. This notion about how these historical figures that are so important to the Bible, the love story they had. And so it's a historical love story as well. We got some others coming on. Hi, everybody. So then we have this other piece, and as Christians, this is where we often say this, that when you read the Song of Songs, the bride is the church of Christ, and Jesus is her lover, or that we are the one beloved by God. And what does that mean to have a notion of God? So there is this three-partness to the Song of Songs. So I will tell you, in some Bibles, like the one I'm using, I'm reading today out of this Bible that I've been using a lot. It is not exactly, so the United Methodist Church wants you to use the NIV or the CEB, the Common English Bible, or the NRSV, New Revised Standard Version. The NIV is the New International Version. I like this one for my own reading right now. I'm working through, it's called Dancing in the Desert Devotional Bible, and it is an NLT, New Living Translation. Doesn't really matter which one you use. The reason I'm telling you this, though, is that your words may be different than mine, and that's okay. It's translational changes over the years, and also in the version of Song of Songs that I'm using, it has little headings. So I'm going to read you those headings of who is reading, but you may not have those in yours, okay? So it begins, we are in chapter 3 today. We look at 2 chapters a week. This is headed, The Young Woman Speaking. One night as I lay in bed, I yearned for my lover. I yearned for him, but he did not come. So I said to myself, I will get up and roam the city, searching in all its streets and squares. I will search for the one I love. So I searched everywhere, but did not find him. Now, when we think about this, if Song of Songs is about, remember we said you can read it on lots of levels. So looking at this piece, a bride looking for the one that she loves, this notion of waiting for love, trying to find somebody that you love and you haven't found them yet. I think people can resonate with that, right? There's a lot of single people in the world right now, or even people that are in marriages and it doesn't feel right. This notion of not always knowing what is the right thing, right? And who is the right one, and is this... here we have this story kind of playing out at the beginning, and it's going to resolve itself within this verse, okay? Now, if we are talking about God, though, I think it really resonates with people. Because right now, sometimes you go, where is God in my life? Where is God when my loved ones are sick? Where is God in the midst of COVID-19? And so sometimes it does feel like you're running around looking for the one you love, the Lord you love, and wondering, where is God? All right. The verse 3, the watchman, and that's a term we hear throughout the Bible, the watchman. The watchman stopped me as they made their rounds, and I asked, have you seen the one I love? Then scarcely had I left them when I found my love. So if we think about this as God, right, we're looking for God, but there is God always for us, right? God is there. If we actually open our eyes and really look, and the watchmen are the ones who kind of in the Bible are the ones who show what God is doing. So it's very helpful here to think about that. Asking other people, what is God doing in your life? Who is God to you? Okay. I caught and held him tightly, then I brought him to my mother's house, into my mother's bed where I had been conceived. Promise me, O women of Jerusalem, by the gazelles and wild deer, not to awaken love until the time is right. So if these young daughters of Jerusalem are looking, they're looking for love and they haven't found it yet. Don't open yourself until the time is right. And you can take that in all kinds of ways. Don't receive love until you know it's the love you're meant to have. Think how many people who are in unhealthy relationships because they just want to be with someone. And that's what it's saying here. There is true love out there, right? There is love that respects you as a person. Find the love that allows you to be you and allows the other person to be them. Find the love that honors you as yourself. So wait until the time is right if you have to find the true love in your life. And if we take this at the Christian value of God, right, we can try to sometimes we try to fill our void with other things, with money, with shopping, with the video games, with online stuff, right? Or things that can get people in trouble. Like sometimes they're getting lost into addictions, right? We're trying to fill that void because we haven't found the true love that honors us as a person and lets us be a person. Now the heading says young women of Jerusalem, so it's a different reader. Who is this sweeping in from the wilderness like a cloud of smoke? Who is it fragrant with mirth and frankincense and every kind of spice? So who brings forth this beauty? And now we're going to hear the historical piece. Look, it's Solomon's carriage, surrounded by 60 heroic men, the best of Israel's soldiers. They are all skilled swordsmen, experienced warriors. Each wears a sword on his thigh, ready to defend the king against an attack in the night. King Solomon's carriage is built of wood imported from Lebanon. Its posts are silver, its canopy gold, its cushions are purple. It was decorated with love by the women of Jerusalem. So Solomon is the one who will end up building the temple. Solomon is David's son. Solomon is known in our Bible as a leader, a wise leader. He's also known to have quite a few wives, but there's this moment when the Queen of Sheba and him are to have this great love story. So again, this notion of a historical figure coming forth, that love arriving onto the scene. And how does he come? He comes with all this beautiful stuff, right? So this idea that, these strong warriors, so strength is a sign of love, right? This notion of gold, a sign in purple's a sign of royalty, gold a sign of wealth. So he comes in with the power to take care of the one that he loves. That it was decorated by love, right? So what are people looking for in their loved one? We talk about these same things with God, right? We want a God that's powerful. We want a God that's awesome in might. We want a God that can control things, that help us because we have no control. So think about these. What's interesting here is all the different nuances of love, right? All the different aspects of love. That the love of God is not so different than the love we have of God's people, right? We look for those same things, that notions of care and respect and compassion and hope and love. And there's a lust part to this, right? There's a that notion of that we are not just head thinkers, we are not just heart thinkers, we're whole body thinkers, right? And so there is that here in this story. And that's why it's important, because I think for so long we kind of want to ignore these parts of the Bible that make us uncomfortable. But in doing that, we then kind of unknowingly create things like sexism, right? Or this inequality, right? We need to allow that part of who we are to speak, that sexual part, that voice of part, that relationship part, that other aspect of love. There's eros, which is this part we're talking about. We talk about Greek words of love. There's philios, like Philadelphia, brotherly love, right? Where you love your brothers and sisters, right? Your family. There's this notion of love that was agape love, and that was a common word in the early church, right? The love that is self-giving, right? It's when you give forth into your friends and family, right? Communion was actually known as agape love. But there is this other piece, and I think we need to remember that it's in our Bible. It's a healthy piece to balance out the types of love. So now we go to young women The young woman. The woman is speaking again. Come out to see King Solomon, young women of Jerusalem. He wears the crown his mother gave him on his wedding day, his most joyous day. So that his wedding was his most joyous day. Such a romantic, right? Now we move into chapter 4. Now it's the young man speaking. You are beautiful, my darling, beautiful beyond words. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Now, so when is he speaking? So we just said, what was the last words? On his wedding day. So what we're hearing now is almost a type of vows. Some men have actually used this for their vows. That's kind of romantic, right? This section, chapter 4, about what is beauty. Now, I don't know if any of you women that are watching this have ever had your eyes compared to doves. That's kind of a strange thing, and you're going to hear some very strange notions, but again, this is very natural. This is poetic. This is nature and things of agriculture, just like throughout other parts of the Bible, this is using it too. So I want you to listen for those parts that sound like flora and fauna and how he uses those to describe, because what it's saying here is that humans are part of creation and we're beautiful like creation. Your eyes are like doves behind your veil. Your hair falls in waves like a flock of goats winding down the slopes of Gilead. Kind of an interesting way of doing it, right? Flock of goats. Your hair's like goats. But goats were seen as, they give you food and they give you milk and they have a great value, right? Your teeth are as white as sheep, recently shone and freshly washed. Your smile is flawless, each tooth matched with its twin. Your lips are like scarlet ribbon, your mouth is inviting. Your cheeks are like rosy pomegranates behind your veil. So this is what he's saying to her behind the veil in her bride attire. Your neck is as beautiful as the Tower of David. Now that is a weird one always to me. So your neck is like a tower straight up and down, right? Jeweled with the shields of 1,000 heroes. Your breasts are like two fawns, twin fawns of gazelle grazing among the lilies. Before the dawn breezes blow and the night shadows flee, I will hurry to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of frankincense. Now, where do you hear myrrh and frankincense? With Jesus, right? Frankincense, myrrh, and gold. So again, these are very notions of kings, right? These are frankincense and myrrh were things that came off a tree. They're like both sap. They're incense too. They have great smell. They're perfumes. You are altogether beautiful, my darling, beautiful in every way. Now, what if God said that to you? How does that feel for you to think about God talking about you that way? That you are beautiful in every way. Does that change how you feel about yourself? If you think about God talking about other people that way, would that change how you think about them as well? Come with me from Lebanon, my bride. Come with me from Lebanon. Come down from Mount Ammon, from the peaks of Sinnar and Hermon, where the lions have their dens and leopards live among the hills. You have captured my heart, my treasure, my bride. You hold it hostage with one glance of your eyes and a single jewel of your necklace. Your love delights me, my treasure, my bride. You hear that repeating, right? My treasure, my bride, right? Again, this notion of a love that is deep, a love that is eternal. Here we're talking about this love that is a married type of love, a love that is a type of partnership love, a type of affirmation of equality. You have captured my heart, my treasure, my bride. You hold it hostage with one glance of your eyes, with a single jewel of your necklace. Your love delights me, my treasure, my bride. Your love is better than wine. Think about that, right? He would choose her over sweet wine. Your perfume more fragrant than spices. Your lips are as sweet as nectar, my bride. Honey and milk are under your tongue. Your clothes are scented like the cedars of Lebanon. I don't know about any of you ladies that are watching this, if anybody's ever said to you, your clothes smell like pine. But remember that Lebanon had this, Lebanon was, the cedars of Lebanon are the great trees of that time. They're like the redwoods in California, right? They're seen as great honored trees. So your clothes smell like great honored trees that gave them the power to build temples, the power to build palaces. So these are things of honor. Now, the part that is, this is where I said some people are uncomfortable with this, and I will tell you, Song of Songs, it can be taken metaphorically, but it also can be taken literally on this next section, so just be aware. It is in your Bible, though. Go look it up. Verse 12, sorry. You are my private garden, my treasure, my bride, a secluded spring, a hidden fountain. Your thighs shelter a paradise of pomegranates with rare spices, henna with nard and saffron, fragrant camas and cinnamon, with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes, and every other lovely spice. You are a garden fountain, a well of fresh water streaming down from Lebanon's mountains. So his bride for him is the best of the best. His bride for him is the greatest of the great. So if we were to talk about this nowadays, right, we might say that your hair flows like the waves of the Atlantic. Your chest is like the mountains of the Rockies. Your eyes sparkle like the stars at night, right? So he's using words that had value to him. Agriculture had value. This is a culture that lived off the land. So the writer here is comparing her to the beauty that keeps them alive, the beauty that keeps them sustained. Her love for him, his love for her, and her love for him is something that gives him life. Right? Didn't you kind of want this love, right? Isn't this is the kind of love that you're like, this is the love that is deep and dream. So if we think about this as God has that kind of love for us, right? To have such a love. Do we have this love for God that we feel like when we see people or when we see creation, we're like, wow, yeah, that's the love we have. Now it goes back to the young woman. Awake, north wind, rise up, south wind, blow on my garden. And remember, the garden is seen to be between her legs, right? So there's some, again, metaphor, literal. You take it how you want to read it. Blow on my garden and spread its fragrance all around. Come into your garden, my love, taste its finest fruits. Now, what we think about here is what it means to have love. And what is love? When we read Song of Songs, we want to ask ourselves, what does love look like for her? Think about how many romance novels get sold. Think how many books even, and this is not just for women, lots of guys read things that are about trying to find hope and find love, find their loved ones. And here it is about the kind of love that, it's meant to make you dream, made to make you aspire. This is the Disney story love, right? This is the romantic comedy love. But to a whole new level, a level of understanding that this person is valued by each other. And I think that's an important thing that we often forget in relationships, right? Do you have the kind of love that you, in a sense, see this person as on scale with anything great in your life? Is this person not only your partner, but somebody who makes your life better? Do you make your life better for your loved one? Do they make it better for you? That's the question Song of Songs is asking. And she tells the daughters of Jerusalem over and over again, wait for that kind of love. We hear a lot in our culture about, settling. And what does that mean? What does it mean to settle? And Song of Songs is pushing against that. Now, I'm not making a judgment one way or the other, but I think we do need to remember that this is the kind of love it's asking for us to have for God. That we have such a deep love of God, that we have such an unbountiful, that we have such a love of God that has no limits. Because that's the kind of love God has for us. That's the kind of love God has for you. Right? That is the kind of love. Song of Songs is hinting at the kind of love that is so deep, so rich, so multifaceted. And that's what God asks of us to give back, because that's what God's given us. So when you read Song of Songs, think about that. Think about all these different levels. Think about the historical love. Think about this love that maybe resonates with you, or maybe that you have in your relationship right now. Maybe you need to ask yourself, do you have it in your relationship right now? Maybe you need to ask yourself, is this a love that you remember? Is this a love you've treasured? Is this a love you're hoping for? And then also is this a love that you give to God and know that God has given it to you? Okay, my friends, that is chapters 3 and 4 from the Song of Songs. We're going to continue to work through the Song of Songs. If you have questions, put them below. But I enjoy Bible study time with you, and I just wish you the best, and I will see you later. Okay.